name's Bond. James Bond.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Bond vs. Godzilla, the podcast that compares and contrasts two of the longest-running film series in cinema history. My name is Cruz Moore, and I will be your resident Godzilla expert on this show. Joining me on this cinematic journey for however long it lasts are three of my very good friends who each have their own history and experience with both film franchises. Bond expert Jacob Roberts.
Hi, my name is Jacob Roberts, licensed Bondologist.
Audio engineer Willie Crook.
I'm Will, and I have no idea how to introduce myself in this episode.
And digital artist Chas Lemons.
Hi, I'm Charles Lemons, and I am indirectly and unwillingly controlling MechaGodzilla right now.
On today's episode, we'll be tackling Octopussy from 1983 and Terror of MechaGodzilla from 1975. So without further ado, Jake, give us a backstory on Hail Hydra.
Octopussy's plot is largely original, using the original short story published after Fleming's death as merely backstory, while another short story, Property of a Lady, provided the auction scene at Sotheby's. The inspiration for the main plot came from real-world headlines. In 1982, a scandal was uncovered in which it was discovered that Leonid Brezhnev's daughter, Galina, was using the Moscow State Circus to smuggle millions of dollars worth of diamonds out of the Soviet Union. Roger Moore was at first reluctant to do another Bond film, so the time-honored tradition of hunting for another Bond continued, with frontrunners this time being future Bond Timothy Dalton and American actor James Brolin. However, news of McClory's Never Say Never Again prompted Eon Productions to persuade Roger back in to better compete with Sean Connery in a battle of the Bonds. Octopussy kicked its ass. Octopussy is the one Bond film that touches upon and shows a glimpse of just what might be the definitive visual of the Cold War, and that is the Berlin Wall that split the city of Berlin into two sectors, east and west. It was a city divided in two, in a country divided in two, in a world divided in two. The wall was built in 1961 and separated the American-controlled West Berlin from the surrounding East Germany. The wall was heavily guarded with only a few strict-as-nails checkpoints to allow passage, the most famous of which was Checkpoint Charlie, as seen in Octopussy. The cities of East and West Berlin were themselves a scale model of the Cold War, and after the failure of Détente, in which tensions between the superpowers were rising yet again, it would only make sense to pit Bond against the villain of the age, a rogue Soviet general with delusions of conquest. Because of this, I can't help but think of Octopussy as the climax of the Cold War within the Bond mythos, a battle across the Iron Curtain that would end in the heart of a conflict several decades old. It is the beginning of the end of the golden age of espionage.
So as much as I can appreciate the eccentricities of the story, with just how weird it can get, I was starting to feel like, okay, we're dealing with nuclear missile smuggling through a circus. I think they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for ideas, only to find out that, wait, no, this actually happened?
For the most, yeah. I mean,
What?
I did not know that.
Yeah, the jewelry smuggling with using the circus came just straight from headlines, and they just, popped in a nuclear bomb to raise the threat.
Why do I not learn about this in high school history class? All of these things just happen.
Learning that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
In
even
history
though you
class.
said
In history. I think it's also a nice representation of how Russia in this instance isn't the enemy. It's just this one psychopath.
It's one rogue general,
Yeah.
which is one of the things I really like about the Bond franchise. At no time in the films, the books are a completely different story, obviously, but as far as the films go, never at any point is the villain another governmental body, at least not directly. And I think Octopussy plays off of that really great where, if you watch that scene towards the beginning with the meeting of the Russian KGB chair, Gogol is a voice of reason. Gogol wants peace and unilateral disarmament. But you have just this one rogue psychopath who's trying to just throw everything out the window.
Yeah, because it definitely lends the atmosphere of a political thriller where there is sides within sides, and that definitely does make it feel like a more engaging movie experience.
And unfortunately, I feel like due to current events, this film additionally becomes almost timeless, because then it's like, oh, a lot of this sounds familiar.
History is repeating itself.
Yeah.
And I knew, with this movie, obviously I knew this movie was coming up, and, once the headline started hitting, it did dawn on me that, we're going to be watching this movie at kind of dare I say convenient time in which history is kind of repeating itself, and it'd be impossible to notice the parallels with this film and what is going on in the world today.
But it's interesting how, we haven't gotten to the 80s just yet, but we're going to get there very soon with Godzilla. Mm-hmm. So it is interesting how it's once again, I keep having people ask me, so what's the connection between these two series? Well, technically nothing. But as we're going along, there's a lot of serendipity happening. So
yeah, sure.
We're finding not only are we traversing the history of two film series, but we're traversing history itself in terms of the world and events of the time.
That's why... I think it was in the very first episode of this podcast, I really wanted to bring up that, Bond and Godzilla, especially in the early days, are really both the same story of a same historical event, but from two different viewpoints of history. One in the eyes of the victor and one in the eyes of the less fortunate.
I just want to say, I'm not disappointed because Bond fighting the twins was still interesting when they were on their own. But
you wanted to see him fight both twins at the same time.
I absolutely did.
Oh, agreed. That would have been so cool. I mean, I like the whole idea of Bond dressing up as one of the twins and the other one mistakes him Misha, you're not my brother. I think that works. I think that's really cool. But the video game nerd in me wants Bond to have that knife-throwing boss fight where, the two twins are, throwing knives at each other and the other one is catching it as Bond is dodging the knives. That would have been cool. I will admit.
Yeah, they're throwing knives at each other, but Bond just happens to be in the middle, and they're very good at throwing knives.
Well, the more I learn about the history of this film, the more I start to, have a better appreciation for it, because as a whole, I think it's okay, and I don't enjoy it as much as I have the other ones. I think it's better than For Your Eyes Only. Mm-hmm. But the more I see just the balance and contrast of what I think is summed up in the climax where Roger Moore is in full clown makeup, and yet he's still giving a compelling performance when he's telling the U.S., there's a bomb that's about to go off in a minute, and I can still see the fear in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always liked that shot. Just of I need to do this right now. Stop being fucking stupid face that Roger has.
And no one's
desperation.
No one's taking me seriously in the worst context in a circus.
Well, he needs to pull off the clown nose so it doesn't look like he's just being a dramatic clown.
He desperately turns to Octopussy help me.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Roger Moore has redeemed himself in the sense of blowing a bunch of people up in a submarine, but I mean
he stopped a nuke instead of setting one off. Are you happy now?
Okay. But yeah, I guess I don't know. The more I think about that scene, and the more I think about the context of everything that happens in the film, I think it's definitely one of his better shining points in the series.
I think it's one of his stronger ones. I've always felt that I pretty much always had the same feelings as you, where I always considered Octopussy to be okay. But as time has gone on, with time, I have grown to appreciate the film more and more. And I feel like it's that one of the films that I like it more each time I watch it, because it still follows, that kind of steady of the line, more formula, but it executes itself really well.
Most notably, Roger Moore pretending to be a reanimated corpse.
That's whoa!
Yeah,
Love it. And this one, I noticed you guys noticed it, that Bond is extra quippy in this one, even for Roger. Even for Roger, this one's like Bond.
Every 5 minutes.
His tongue is planted firmly in his cheek the entire runtime.
And they were pretty on point with this one too.
They're all
quite
funny.
nice.
He has a million zingers, and they're all funny.
Even when there's no one around to hear it. You could easily not say a thing when a snake is crawling across you, but no, he goes, hiss off. Like, okay.
You know, that's another thing about this movie that I think really makes it stand out amongst all the other films. There's a lot of animals in this movie.
Yeah, there's...
Not just pigeons.
Yeah, a lot of animals. We got elephants, tigers, snakes. Tarantulas were fake, but crocodiles.
And a fake crocodile as well.
Crocodile submarine.
Crocomarine.
Octopus, obviously. It's like a lot of animals that they had to work with.
Not
And
just
the octopus
animals.
gotta kill a guy.
Not just animals, but like circus animals, which is a whole nother level of coordination and rehearsal.
Well, I know that all of the circus scenes, like the big circus performance scenes, I know those scenes were basically directed and coordinated by Barbara Broccoli, who's in charge of the franchise now. So that's kind of where she got her start, having a strong thing to do in the film, is that she got to coordinate the circus scenes in Octopussy. The Acrostar jet that was used for the opening title sequence, in a similar manner to the rocket belt back in Thunderball, it was flown by its inventor for the sequence.
And I think, is this the first time that we've had like a fight on top of a train? Because I think we've been waiting for that the whole time.
This is the first big train sequence. Is sort of old hat nowadays, especially like in action movies in general. Like, you know, every action franchise is going to have a fight on a train, and, you know, Bond obviously does it a few more times down the road. But Octopussy is where, you know, they bring in the really cool train sequence, which is one of the best sequences in the entire movie, is the entire train sequence. The filming techniques they use for that and the stunt work is just all really, really cool.
Yeah, you really feel like Roger Moore is about to get clocked by a bridge with a tunnel through it.
And it's funny you should say that.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Thank you for the
first,
segue, Chaz.
like, even though it eventually gets old hat, I think this one's very fitting because the objective is all part of this circus train versus just, now we happen to be on a train.
It's not just a set piece, it's plot relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not just a fight that happens to take a part on the train. The train is at the center of everything. Tragedy did occur to stuntman Martin Grace, who was doubling for Roger during the train sequence. An accident occurred during the section in which Bond had to hang off the side of the speeding train. Martin's hip collided with a concrete post at full speed. Despite suffering serious injuries, he managed to remain holding on to the train until it could be safely stopped. He survived, spent 6 months in hospital, and eventually made a full recovery. But, yeah. That happened.
Was that the shot that they used, or
No.
I'm just kidding.
Well, it's true because, I mean, there's a lot of great visuals in this film, and you do kind of feel like you're telling yourself, no, this has to be either blue screened or rear screen projection. Like, there can't actually be a stuntman on the side of a train. No, wait, there's actually a stuntman on the side of a train.
The only trickery they did for the train was, of course, with the Roger Moore close-ups, which, of course, use like sliding back screens and stuff in studio. The way they got the close-up shot of Roger Moore while he's hanging on the undercarriage of the train with the ground speeding below him, that was just in studio, and they pretty much had a conveyor belt below him that was just spinning with a picture of the tracks on it.
So were there any tragedies on the amazing stunt feat of being on a plane in flights?
No, actually, no problems there. The team that did the climax on top of Kamal Khan's train, or his plane, sorry. All of that was done for real. It was the same aerial stunt team that did the opening sequence for Moonraker. Once again, aerial stuntman, parachutes hidden below their clothes. But yeah, no, it was real. They outfitted the plane with special hand guards that they can hold on to. But yeah, all of that was done. Actual stuntman high in the air on a plane, done for real.
Yeah, that looked too real.
You can't fake that.
Yeah.
One shot that they did have to redo was the actual plane crashing into the side of the mountain and blowing up, because the original filming of that went a little wrong. The original idea was just to have the plane, launch the plane off the cliff with no pilot in it, and fill it with explosives, and just have it careen down, crash, and explode. That was the idea. But instead, when they launched the pilotless plane off the cliff, it ended up leveling off and gliding over a busy interstate. Filled with explosives. No pilot. Well done, guys. Thankfully, everything was fine. Nothing bad happened. The plane just flew over the interstate. It eventually did hit the ground and explode, although no cameras could catch it because, it just flew off.
Jesus Christ.
So they did the pickup shot with a model back in studio.
If only they had brought a telescope that day.
But several of the shots of it gliding gracefully with no pilot through the air, some of that was used in the final cut. So some of the shots of the plane kind of just like gliding and flying through the sky was the pilotless, technically out of control plane.
So there is some genuine danger in the footage of this movie.
Yeah, there is.
You were definitely correct about just choosing the right location just for the story to be told, because everything about India looks gorgeous.
I mean, I stand on the opinion that I think Octopussy is the best looking film in the series. Just straight up, just because how beautiful they make India look.
Yeah, like the palace that James Bond stays in like multiple times, and
Monsoon Palace?
and the multiple other palaces.
Yeah, the
just
Shivnivas
look gorgeous.
The Shivnivas Hotel, which was originally like a royal palace that got converted into a hotel. The Monsoon Palace is an actual palace that they got filmed at. India's the Maharana is essentially the High King of India. He welcomed the film crew in with open arms and pretty much gave them free access to film anywhere they wanted in all of Udaipur. Just pretty much carte blanche from the king himself. I heard that the king even like personally entertained the cast and crew and essentially treated them like royal dignitaries.
Holy shit!
So. Because this had to have been probably like one of India's biggest ability to like unveil itself to the West.
Oh yeah.
Apart from tourism,
it's crazy with the filming that happened there. Public interest caught wind of the film, and it got out of control. Just thousands of locals would show up to watch the filming. Way more than anyone could possibly control. So when you watch the film, whenever you see like a group, like a whole crowd of locals in the background, those large crowd shots, those are just pretty much just people who showed up to watch the filming and got caught on camera. During the chase scene, between the two three-wheeled taxis,
Which is an amazing chase.
which is such an amazing sequence.
great scene.
You have this sequence where the two taxis pretty much get like caught together and they're pretty much like touching each other as they try to wrestle. And when you watch the movie, you see that there's this cyclist that cycles straight towards the taxis, and the taxis just have to like immediately like separate to let the bicycle pass through and immediately get back together. Was not planned. That cyclist was just a random dude who just ended up on the filming, and that was just a genuine instinct reaction from the two taxi drivers. Just separated and let him through, and the guy just keeps pedaling, doesn't look back. He just like doesn't give an iota of a shit. The beauty of the India setting, credit there really goes to Peter Lamont, who is the new production designer who took over from Ken Adams starting in For Your Eyes Only. But he had worked in the art department on every film since Goldfinger, and would continue to serve that role even into the Brosnan era. So in a lot of ways, he is as much to credit for the look of James Bond as Ken Adam was. He even was finally awarded an Oscar for his work on Titanic. So shout out to Peter Lamont. He's I think is one of the really unsung heroes of the franchise.
I think VJ's death is one of the few in the series where I actually go like, God, that guy was so cool. I'm so sad that he was
feel the same way.
gone.
VJ was so. VJ
He was good.
As soon as he pops that wheelie, I'm like, you're not going to last in this movie, are you? You're just too cool.
You're too cool to live. you're dangerously close to upstaging Bond, and we can't have that. So you're gonna have to die.
He's got a license
Like-
to die.
And even Bond has this expression on his face where it's like, now it's personal.
Yeah, no, you can tell like Bond looks really kind of hurt by VJ's death.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you bastards, you did.
You are one of the good ones.
For VJ.
If there was ever a character who could ever be called a Bond guy,
That's so funny, too. He could have been like, that's for 009, and it's like, that's for VJ. I don't know who that is.
Bond and buddies.
He's also the only one in the series that can play the freaking Bond theme in the film.
Yeah, diegetic Bond theme.
He's
It's
up,
funny 'cause,
he's
like,
up there with Hagrid in the first Harry Potter.
Because like VJ Armitage, like he generally did have a phobia of snakes, so he had a hell of a time having to do that snake charmer bit.
And I like how it was just like a flimsy cover. He's just like, oh, I don't like snakes anyway. It's just like, why'd you choose that?
So let's see. Cobras, octopi, elephants, alligators, more
Tiger.
snakes, a tiger.
sadly no tiger tongue.
Almost a tiger
Oh,
tongue.
yeah, the fucking
when
jump
the rug
scare
gets
pigeon.
shot.
Yeah, we gotta have the John Glenn pigeon.
Fish. We gotta get at least 10, right? There's at least 2 more things. A horse.
You can count the. I'm pretty sure they were fake, but if you want to, you can count the tarantulas.
Okay, we'll give you that. Yeah, I feel like if you were to like go through like the rainbow of Bond films, it's like, well, my friend likes animals. Which one should he watch? Oh, this one.
Octopussy.
I mean, there's an animal in the name, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of which, what do you guys think of the titular Octopussy?
I do like her, and I like how she is like, she's not the villain in this film, and she just has this nice collection of, like, I've taken in all these strays and I've given them a purpose. I've also made them all badasses. But because it's a Bond film, as soon as they walk into the same room together and he just grabs her by the shoulders and turns her around, that's enough. That's enough for her to be like, oh, Bond. Like, but you were so what? You don't need no Bond.
Yeah, I was catching that. I had that same feeling as I was watching this movie with this time. I was just like,
Right.
You
it's-
you just had her do this like really cool badass thing, and now you're kind of making it seem like it was like a facade of just trying to be strong, but it's like, sure, you can have an aspect of that, but don't have her like needing the D immediately.
Right.
Like, I think it's cool that she's basically like this kind of neutral player between the
Yeah.
two
Oh,
yeah.
sides.
Yeah.
But
And,
it's also
and,
cool.
and I definitely think it would have made her like her and Bond's connection more powerful after he saves them and then
Right.
they hook up.
Was the whole backstory tie-in with her father, was it necessary? Maybe not.
I was fine with that. I would have just rather them not have a romantic thing
Yeah.
like that because I feel like they could have gotten rid of that and still had a way of Bond to convince her like, hey, it's me. I'm in a clown suit, but it's me.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't mind the romantic thing between Bond and Octopussy because I kind of like Octopussy being presented as like a mythological Cersei figure. How she's the seductress. She's trying to convince Bond to be with me, join me. Don't be with MI6. Like we're two of a. Come be with me. We're perfect for each other, and kind of acting as that like temptress role that I think really adds to just like the general sexy mystique of the character, which I do think is one of her strongest points. I love Octopussy. I think she easily lands in at least like my top 5 favorite Bond girls. I think I would probably call her my favorite Roger Moore Bond girl. I think she's definitely really up there for me.
She deserves to come back.
Oh, I would have loved.
Yeah,
for her
that
to
would have
come
been
back.
nice.
I would have loved for her to come back.
I mean, this isn't exactly something I like stickle with a lot, especially on these movies, but it was kind of nice to see James Bond actually link up with someone close to his age for once.
True.
Oh God.
Because in terms of like the seductress aspect, that's why I feel like she should have been the one to grab him by the shoulders,
Yeah.
and he should have been the one swooning in this kind of play of power.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was a Daniel Craig film, we would have had like a 5-minute scene of
Dominatrix. I'm not wrong.
No, but I'm also trying to make a serious point here, you asshole.
I missed what Willie said.
He said dominatrix.
Sorry.
That was a Freudian slip, but go on, Jake.
If this was a Daniel Craig movie, we would have had a 5-minute scene of Bond like legitimately contemplating being with her and like being tempted.
Like, you do make a good point, Chaz, about them kind of being the same age, because in terms of the other woman that like he seduced, reaching 56, I don't know how much more convinced I can be that Roger Moore can still woo the ladies at this point.
You know, which is why, you know, these later Moore films kind of do make, you know, a lot of people go like,
Yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons why they kind of lampshaded it with BB Doll and For Your Eyes Only of having Bond outright, you know, deny a younger character, but that, you know, doesn't stop the series. They didn't really accomplish anything. They just, you know, highlighted that, yeah, it's a problem, but they don't do anything to solve it. And I think it was definitely a major contributing factor as to why Roger eventually does leave. It's that, yeah, you're just getting a little too old for this, buddy. The other character of note in this movie, what did we think of our villain, Kamal Khan?
Well, before we get to that,
Yeah.
lest we forget the most useful gadget in this movie,
What's that?
a hairdryer.
Yeah. That dang hair dryer.
Please explain.
Well, obviously, she was drying her hair, and it caused enough electronic feedback interference that it got away in the bug about 5 stories down. What's there not to believe?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Chaz, you have a degree in
Bullshit.
No, I don't.
radio waves.
I
Please
especially don't.
explain.
Well, obviously,
If it was a microwave, I'd give it that, but
Well,
it was a fucking hairdryer.
Well, Cruz, you're the screenwriter, so how desperate do you think they were to come up with some interference for his radio interceptor?
I would have gladly taken a Jenny Craig in the microwave versus drying your fucking hair.
I mean,
Jenny Craig in the microwave. What's that from?
It's a food you put in the microwave.
What's Jenny Craig?
Jenny Craig, the weight loss, like, it's like weight loss program. You sign up for it. They send you food with like a perfectly leveled out, you know,
Oh,
so you
okay.
don't.
Yeah, I'm not
lose
surprised
weight.
you haven't heard of that, Chad. So then the second villain.
And then Kamal Khan was the primary villain. He was the exiled Afghan prince, played by Louis Jourdan. He was the one who crashes into the plane at the end. The one who, in charge of the guy with the turban, Gobinda. He was the one with the Morse screen.
How did I completely forget about it?
I don't know. Like he is like, despite like, I feel like his performance is really good, but I feel like his character as a whole is just kind of forgettable. Like the most memorable thing I know him is like he basically gives Bond money by letting him use his dice because players' courtesy or whatever.
There's something about this far in being introduced to villains by them pettily losing a game and going like, fine, bye. And it's like, it's not a great start for you. Backgammon.
Yeah, and backgammon isn't as interesting to watch as like golf. To be
Oh, that's saying a lot.
So in A View to a Kill, are we going to get a tense game of bumper pool?
Oh, I wish.
Mancala.
The most intense game of Marco Polo
oh
you've
God,
ever
man,
seen.
I haven't played that in ages either.
I like Kamal Khan. I do admit that he's not like one of the flashiest or most memorable villains in the franchise. I do like his, you know, classy upper class suaveness to him, which, you know, Louis Jourdan has always been typecast as that kind of character,
And the thing
he
is,
plays it really well.
The thing is, for me, I kind of feel like he was written that way. Because I remember thinking this the first time that I saw this movie, is that he's written to think he's bigger than he actually is.
I get that impression.
And so I think it's almost fitting that he's forgettable. And so I think it's just fitting that Cruz is like, how did I completely forget about him? Like,
Well, see, that's why I prefer Bond villains that are as huge as they think
Oh
they
yeah,
are.
give me a good over the top villain any day.
Yeah, give me the Peter Dinklage dude over this
Yeah.
guy.
yeah.
Thank you. Like this guy is almost overshadowed by his henchman, who is also
Kind of is.
He is.
Yeah, who's
I
also-
was actually just going to say that.
also kind of forgettable, but he can destroy some lopsided weight dice. So there's that.
Yeah, because Gobinda, he is just another in a long line of just big, strong, mostly mute henchmen,
With a staring problem.
and he still kind of does steal the show a bit from his boss.
But I mean, I think that's just kind of like how their dynamic ends up laying it out, because he is the one who ends up being basically his arm. Like
No, I do
when
like
he does things.
I do like on the climax up on the plane, like go out there and get him. Out there?
Yeah.
And, like he actually
Great
hesitates
idea.
for a bit. He's just like, okay.
Like that's cute. I would love films that have more villain henchman dynamics like that, where it's like, okay, that was a cute moment.
I mean, I do kind of feel like he looks like the evil twin of Sean Connery. Maybe that's why I think he looks familiar.
Kind of does, yeah.
Just slap a goatee on him and it'd be perfect.
This movie introduced a new M. Doesn't make a big deal out of it. Robert Brown, the new M. There is because the movies don't make a big deal about it, there is some debate as to whether or not he's supposed to be the same M recast or if he's supposed to be a new M. Robert Brown did appear previously in The Spy Who Loved Me, in a small part Admiral Hargreaves. And so common fan theory is that Admiral Hargreaves got promoted to be the new M. But, that's just second M.
Yep.
There's M and M.
Out.
It's okay, Cruz. You can hit me for that.
We're an all-time high. We'll change all that's gone before. Doing so much more than falling in love. On an all-time high. We'll take on the world and win. So hold on tight. Let the flight begin.
Oh my God, Cruz! What happened to your eyebrows? Was it fire related? No.
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Cruz does have very delicate eyebrows.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, Jake.
That's because he probably has them actually waxed.
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't. Why would I have them waxed?
Like part of it's
Well, do you actually have them trim them or?
no, part of them part of his eyebrows are like blonde.
No, he just has Matt Smith syndrome.
It's okay, Cruz. You just look like a Doberman. Cruz, I have a singer that you would love.
That's great.
I think we all know who you're talking about.
Is it the European guy who's like?
Yep.
It was like big 2 weeks ago.
I thought that was from a movie.
It's from The Fifth Element. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what I thought. Honestly,
Feels like it would.
Cruz, shoot me first. I'll shoot you back.
it is from the Fifth Element, isn't it?
No, it's not. I'm pretty certain it isn't.
Please tell me.
You're giving Cruz an aneurysm.
You're giving Cruz an aneurysm.
That may be true, but you probably aren't helping.
Godzilla vs. MechaGodzilla proved to be a better success for the waning film series, bolstering 1.3 million ticket sales compared to the declining sales of the past. To keep the success train rolling, Toho pulled out all the stops for the sequel. bringing back veteran director Ishiro Honda and composer Akira Ifukube, giving their original 1954 creation one last send-off with Terror of MechaGodzilla, based off a contest-winning screenplay by screenwriting student Yukiko Takayama, the second and last female screenwriter in the series' history. The story is filled with the familiar alien invasion monster madness we've come to know, with an added mad scientist and romance subplot. Because of this, it stands as one of the lesser entries for me personally, despite returning to some impressive miniature special effects destruction. And it is with this film that we say goodbye to Godzilla for the first time, as the series would be put on hiatus for 9 years, ending the Showa era with 15 movies. And I applaud my 3 co-hosts for getting this far. So what did you guys think of MechaGodzilla, this time with feeling?
I liked it quite a bit.
It was okay. Like, I don't really feel like I hold much animosity towards this film, but I also don't absolutely love it. It was just kind of okay.
Yeah,
Middle of the road.
It was okay, which in turn to me makes me want to say it was disappointing because the first one was good. I was more invested in the human characters in this movie than the fight scene climax.
Yeah, the human plotline definitely kind of mixed it up just enough to at least make it intriguing.
The cyborg girl was an interesting enough kind. Like, once they started bringing up that, they brought her, like, she was a cyborg and had to go through, like, and how she pretty much died, and they brought her back to life and that's actually how they controlled, that whole thing, like, that's actually pretty cool. I'm on board with this. Yeah, that's the kind of, campy sci-fi shit that I love.
Why she develops a really strong bond towards the
Only guy that gives attention to her, I guess.
Yeah, the college graduate is it's a little bit of a mystery, but it's not the least probable thing in these movies.
If I had to say anything about this movie, I think the one major element that really holds this movie back is Titanosaurus.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to my question. Thoughts on Titanosaurus?
When it first appeared, I was on board because it's actually a pretty cool design. I really like the design, especially how striking the eyes are, the kind of seahorse, kelpie kind of silhouette to it. Yeah, great.
I agree with that one. Like I had said when it came on, I was like, "Geez, that's actually kind of horrifying."
Yeah.
And then the more it appears, the kind of shittier it gets.
Yeah. Once it gets out of the water,
Right.
it's no longer scary.
It's great at fighting submarines, but very little else.
Yeah, so I really used to enjoy Titanosaurus as a kid because I thought his roar and his color design.
I loved the roar.
Good roar.
Yeah.
Good roar.
He had a good color design.
He was just like a really strange dinosaur with a mohawk.
He was really well designed, like through and through. Honestly, his design as both costume, character, mobility movements, all of that was really cool.
But as an adult, I find him kind of unremarkable, and I can't ignore the rubber neck bouncing up and down every time he walks.
Yeah.
So it just, unfortunately, he doesn't hit that mark anymore for me.
Because I feel like
As a
Titanosaurus-
figure, he looks cool.
Oh,
but
yeah,
as
yeah,
anything
sure.
else, like,
Because like Titanosaurus, essentially, like I feel like that this is Titanosaurus's movie, and MechaGodzilla is just there for name recognition.
little bit.
Little bit, because because Titanosaurus definitely gets more attention and screen time and fight choreography than MechaGodzilla.
I mean,
he does get.
He doesn't even. He's not even moving until like the last 20 minutes. Of the movie.
MechaGodzilla just stands there menacingly,
Menacingly.
which I think we may have made that joke in the last episode too, but not nearly to this degree, where he literally just stands there.
And just waits for his hand to do the kill shot every time.
Yeah.
It's a kill shot. Oh, it's a kill shot.
It's a kill shot. Wait, no,
and
I
it's
gotta
like-
do it in slow motion now.
And like the best shot in the entire movie is when MechaGodzilla is literally unloading his entire arsenal on Godzilla all at once. Missiles, laser beams, like literally everything he has just completely barraging on top of him. That was really cool. But that gets less attention than a seahorse with a really nasty tail whip.
The tail whip attack is cool until it starts wagging the tail.
When I saw that was Titanosaurus's like primary power, because until that point he just did like physical stuff. It's like, okay, I don't mind a monster that's primarily physical. That could work. That's fine. But then like, oh, your superpower is you wag your tail really hard.
Yeah.
You're using tail whip, basically.
Yeah, he's basically a giant Vaporeon without all of the cool water abilities. And
I would say Vaporeon's a little bit more sexy, but go ahead.
Oh, you too.
Did you know that in terms of all Godzilla kaijus, Titanosaurus is the coolest?
I love
he doesn't even get good destruction. He basically just ends up like blowing away the stuff MechaGodzilla's already blown
I
up.
noticed that.
Yeah.
That's why I loved hearing you guys in the theater go, okay, wait a minute. I just blew up everything, and now you're just kind of cleaning up the place.
How his tail should have been done is like I know it would still look kind of campy, but they would have to like just do like one solid swoosh,
Yeah.
and then just like a huge gust that just rips apart a fucking
I think that
building.
could have sold it more for sure.
But he just sits there and swiggity swooty his tail.
What absolutely killed it for me was at one point when Titanosaurus has Godzilla essentially on the ground. He goes over and punts him like a football, and Godzilla goes flying like a mountain range distance. So, like, your kick sends Godzilla flying farther than your primary superpower. Why do you even have the tail?
Yeah.
It's like he's using the gust. It's like to use Smash Brothers for lack of a better analogy. It's like he's using the gust thing, but instead he should be using the fucking soccer ball.
Which is why it's funny how, like, in the video game that Titanosaurus is featured in, well, I guess we got to give him something. So you can shoot a green projectile out of your mouth, but it doesn't make any sense because Titanosaurus doesn't do that.
Yeah, no.
But we had to give him something in the game.
Maybe he's mouth laser shy.
I noticed Titanosaurus's eyes, and like how detailed they felt.
Good eyes, yeah.
That and I noticed that like so late in the movie. I don't know if that was the first shot where they were that pronounced to where I was able to notice it, but that was a really cool detail that I really liked about Titanosaurus in this movie. Was those eyes that just like they felt real.
The other issue is that he's a monster that's reluctant. He wouldn't be doing any of this if he wasn't being controlled by those people, which kind of makes it like, okay.
I get that.
It's kind of par for the course for these alien stories, though. The alien always has, their remote-controlled monster that they set out.
But you still feel like Gigan loves what he fucking does. And Megalon's not an alien, but yeah. Megalon, I would say, love what he does. Whereas Titanosaurus, it's like he'd still be chilling in the sea.
Yeah, and he's the only monster that the humans have actually been able to defeat so far, as I can tell.
Which makes him bottom tier.
And
Because they use this radar signal, and as you said, Chaz, we need 10,000 hair dryers.
But the thing is, they didn't defeat Titanosaurus. They saved him.
Yeah, and that's why he never comes back.
And honestly,
he found the
He's
power
sleeping.
of Christ.
that's why I think
saved
Titanosaurus is going to be up there for me in one of my favorite monsters because he's not a destruction hell-bent evil guy. He was literally being forced to. He would be unknown at the bottom of the sea, just doing his own shit if they didn't control him.
I'm not
And
even
I kinda
supposed
like
to be
that.
here today.
I mean, I feel like with how we've seen Godzilla used in the newer movies and how like things coming in and out of water have kind of like we can do more with that now. I feel like it would be cool to see Titanosaurus come back and like see them give him another shot.
Because in the comic books, there's an issue where the major conflict is sea-based kaiju, and I think the three primary ones are this octopus from a different Toho film, Manda, who's the lanky snaky boy, and Titanosaurus. And since they're water-based, it's like shit. We're in their element, so we're fucked.
But Which I know I made fun of this after the movie as well. Like, you know, when they had that one moment where
God.
somebody went into the four split screen and it shows King Ghidorah, Rodan, Snaky Boy?
They're the kaiju
So you mean
bunch.
he'll join the ranks of these cool guys? And sure
And
he
then down there
will.
is just Manda, just constantly on a loop doing the one thing that he can do, which is neck squeeze the bridge. And it's just him neck squeezing the bridge, like on loop. And it's just like, you literally have like dozens of monster B-roll footage that you could choose from. You went with Manda.
That's why I can't wait until we see Manda again, so I can see what your guys' opinion is.
Oh man, does he get his own show where the intro is Manda?
I'm not gonna tell you anything, I just-
Manda show.
In the prequel novels to the anime trilogy, where all the kaiju render Earth uninhabitable, in the year 2044, multiple Titanosauri are controlled by the United Earth forces to fight against Godzilla. Spoiler alert, they fail.
Cruz, if you want to know if it's Titanosaurus or Titanosauri, ask James. He's the closest person I know to a linguist.
He just grabbed his phone.
What is the plural of this word?
We'll be back after this short break.
Oh my god, if you wake up James for this is going to be beautiful.
James,
Yes.
what is the plural of Titanosaurus?
Titanosaurus?
Yes.
Damn. I mean, I don't know, but if I had to like bet money on it, I would say Tyrannosauri.
No, it's Titanosaurus. What's the plural of Titanosaurus?
Probably not something different. I don't know. I don't know. That's,
Thank you.
I'm good.
Right as he's about to get into the minutia of it, it's like, okay, that's all we needed.
Oh my fucking god, I love James so much.
So not only would this be director Ishiro Honda's last Godzilla movie, it would also be the last Godzilla movie for veteran series actor Akihiko Harada, who we all know best as Dr. Serizawa. This would be his last role in the Godzilla series before his passing in 1984. Does anyone know who he played?
That scientist guy? No, I'm kidding.
AKA...
Dr. Wiley.
There you go.
Oh,
was
wow.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can see him in like without any makeup in those flashback photos where I was just dubbing over him and going like, "We're all being attacked by mice. We must destroy all the mice." Before he turns into this guy completely obsessed with this dinosaur and wants to destroy the world. Who I'm surprised, like I have zero sympathy for this character because he's not a Serizawa where he's kind of crazy, but he's trying to protect the world from worse shit.
This guy had his feelings hurt and wants to kill humans.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he's
But when he dies in the end, you were all like, "Oh, I didn't expect that."
Well, like the thing is,
I think it was more so. It wasn't so much that he died, but like the way he died.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was the way. In a movie where a good guy gets taken hostage, you don't expect the good guys to start shooting
Yeah.
and kill the good guy as hostage. But I would have also not minded if there was some kind of like atonement, repent. I don't know, just apology.
Yeah, kill his ass.
But also, I'm not sad that he died. But
I mean, he really did just amount to like a Saturday morning cartoon villain.
yeah.
Yeah.
In a room of like literal Saturday morning cartoon villains who unironically go mwahaha.
Because the strange thing about this film is that it's known as, okay, this is like, especially with Godzilla just walking away in the water and the camera zooming out, this is his like goodbye for 9 years. It wasn't intended to be his goodbye. It was just money really didn't pick up for the next 9 years for Toho.
And that's usually how Godzilla movies end anyway.
Yeah, it's just him returning
Yes
back
and
to the
yeah, exactly.
But-
But it has this somber song to it, so it's almost like you are saying farewell.
But the thing that bugged me a little bit about the end was the dark sepia tone that just like overlaid over the entire thing? Was it supposed to be a sunset, or was it just literally like
Maybe
a brown and black and white shot?
So
The
that
hell?
that threw you off, but the fact that they used a prop costume instead of the actual costume didn't throw you off.
What?
So when he turns to the camera to basically say goodbye,
Yeah.
they used a promotional suit for the films rather than the actual suit, and that's why he looks a little jank.
So wait, was that a
I didn't
suit
even
like
catch that.
that like people would really? His teeth were like completely different. They
will-
were white. They weren't laying inward.
It was probably because I was so distracted by the sudden color shift that I didn't see.
Yeah, his eyes went from like really sinister to just.
Yeah, it kind of went back to that kind of old, kind of cute-zilla.
One thing I particularly liked about this film is, like you said before, Cruz, how they used miniature destruction, and they really did use that a lot more in this film than they have.
Yeah, because we're back in the
last
cities
couple.
now.
I really liked the scene during the fight. It was like one of the coolest scenes. That neighborhood block gets like
Yeah.
blown up.
Just-
Oh, yeah, and it just bounces.
and you just
oh,
see-
that was so cool.
That was that shit. I
was
remember
so cool.
that from that.
Yeah.
I can distinctly remember
That
that
was
from
a
the fight, and that's
great
like all I
shot.
remember.
That was a fantastic shot.
It was.
The thing that weirds me out now that I'm revisiting this film is no one even talks about Godzilla. No one like cheers for him, says his name, like, oh, he's here to fight for us. He just shows up.
I'm not paid enough for this
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
He's like a complete afterthought, which is like it's so weird to me. Because he's still the hero. It's just no one's talking about him.
I found it a little bit weird when, like, towards the beginning, and they're showing, the aliens and Dr. Wily kind of, talking together, and they show them the MechaGodzilla getting rebuilt, and they go on about how powerful and how perfect of a weapon MechaGodzilla is, as if he didn't lose to Godzilla. Which, like I said, they're not. Like, so your master plan is to just have MechaGodzilla try again? Without
And
even
get his head ripped off again.
Yeah. MechaGodzilla lost to Godzilla. Okay, now we must rebuild him with specific, even better anti-Godzilla measures. But no, that's not taken into account at all.
No,
It's just,
they did do that. They put a living brain inside of him, so he could have a second form.
I do find that interesting with the whole using the cyborg girl's brain to control MechaGodzilla, because that kind of gets referenced in the newer film when they brought
That's
MechaGodzilla
true.
back by having the human brain in that pod remotely controlling Mecha, and it's like. So, when I caught that, I'm like, oh, okay, so that was...
Oh, right.
That was kind of borrowed by the newer films. All right, I dig that.
What could go wrong? So one of the more surprising elements of this movie is the full exposure of breasts in the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was odd.
Was that like a model, or was
Yeah,
that?
they weren't real.
I know,
Okay, yeah,
it looked
did
latex.
They did look
yeah.
This would mark the last time we'd ever see nudity in a Godzilla film.
The first
Yeah.
time was last time.
If you perverts have been paying attention, what other two Godzilla films have featured nudity?
I mean, there was the poster in the back of the truck.
That's
Yep.
one.
For the other one...
I want to say Mothra?
No.
Martha does have nice tits.
I expected better of you, Jake.
That's your problem. Yeah, I don't know the other time. I don't think we made fun of it, so it didn't stick in my head. 'Cause
Any guesses?
Poster in the truck.
Is it beginning or recent? Can you give a small hint? Because I want to say it was probably one of the earlier ones, like one of the first 3 or 4.
It's not recent.
Yeah, it wasn't Kong v Godzilla, was it?
Nope.
Was it the first one?
It was the first one, actually.
first
Yeah. Because little did I know, I learned about it a few years ago. The native islanders in the background are completely undressed, so you can pretty much see. If you look hard enough, you can see it.
So it's just like a minute little background detail.
Yeah. We now come to our list of alternate titles. From Japan, it was also known as MechaGodzilla's Counterattack. From America, it was also known as MechaGodzilla's Revenge and Terror of Godzilla.
You forgot the word mecha.
However, Terror of MechaGodzilla had been running on television for a number of years until the distributors released it in theaters as Terror of Godzilla, putting fans under the impression that it was a brand new movie. From the UK, Monsters from an Unknown Planet. From
I
France,
know what planet they're from. They were in the last one.
the third.
They're from the
Planet.
The third planet of the black hole.
From France, The Monsters of the Lost Continent.
I mean,
I guess.
continent must be pretty damn lost. It was never even mentioned.
I mean, the continent's in a black hole, so it is kind of lost.
I mean, you could probably call the ocean a continent if you're really stretching it.
No, it's the ocean.
You can call the ocean a continent, if you wanted to be wrong.
Also from France, The Ogres from Space. Also from France, but on home video release.
Don't Die, Willie. That's
Well,
an
Wasn't
interesting
expecting
title.
that phrase.
MechaGodzilla Strikes Back.
Okay.
Also from France, but also on home video release.
Sorry? France, we need to have a talk.
On France home video release, After Holocaust.
What? Whoa! France! Calm the fuck down!
Just for the record, I am not making these up.
What the fuck happened there?
Fuck France.
From Belgium, Horror of Godzilla.
Okay.
From Germany, The Brood of the Devil.
Oh, edgy!
From Greece, Godzilla and the Extraterrestrials.
Hey, wait a second.
Again.
Wait a second. Horror of Godzilla. Wait, is that how Godzuki was born?
No, Godzuki was born because Hanna-Barbera wanted a Scooby-Doo type
They wanted a
creature
scrap- they wanted
to,
scrap-
quote, get the kids going.
Okay, please don't use that phrase ever again. Why have we never had like a Godzuki Scrappy-Doo team-up cartoon?
Shh, they'll hear you. From Turkey, Battle in Outer Space, not to be confused with Ishiro Honda's Battle in Outer Space from 1959. From Israel, War of the Monsters.
Kind of late on that one.
From Brazil, The Fury of the Monsters. And my personal favorite from Italy, Destroy Kong! The Earth is in danger!
I can't believe it did reference King Kong.
I mean, this is the movie we all saw, right?
Okay, Cruz, you gotta hunt for some old newspapers to find movie reviews that are like, what the hell? Why is this movie poster so misleading?
I would just find Italian translations of, oh, Destroy Kong is brilliant. I loved it when Kong whipped his tail.
I loved it when Kong tackled the submarine, when he shed his fur and
I
became
love
a
it
scaly
when Kong
monster.
shot himself to save the world and professed his love with green eyes. So, Jake, would you recommend Octopussy or Terror of MechaGodzilla to a first-time viewer?
Octopussy? Yeah, absolutely. I think it's probably one of Roger Moore's stronger outings, and like I've said 13 times now, just about every Roger Moore film is a good stepping on point, so Octopussy is a strong one. You can watch it, get a good feel about what Bond is about, and have a good time doing it. Terror of MechaGodzilla? No, purely on the point that it is a direct sequel and is kind of meant to be seen immediately after the previous one. I think it stands on its own merits enough, but not enough to recommend as a good starting point.
Same answer for the most part. Octopussy is definitely a strong one to start with. It is honestly, I want to say, my second favorite Moore. But Terror of MechaGodzilla is definitely one of the weaker ones. If it's going to be, it should be your second if you start with MechaGodzilla as your first. Godzilla's not even really talked about in this movie. it made me, it put like another perspective of the movie of, it's not really a Godzilla movie almost in this weird way.
Yeah, Octopussy was great. It's hard to not recommend this one, especially since it does feel like it has the culmination of all of the best features of the Roger Moore films, barring what we might see in the next one, but that's to be said. Terror of MechaGodzilla, decent film, but definitely not one I would want to watch as my first Godzilla outing. It would be a little disorienting having Godzilla play third wheel to another monster that isn't quite as cool.
I wish it could be unanimous for Octopussy, as much as I think that if you want to see a great James Bond film in I was going to say Italy. If you want to see, if you want
A
to
misleading Bond film.
If you want to see a great Bond film that takes place in India and features like a lot of great like animal acting to a certain extent, sure. I feel like there are other entries that would be a better starting point versus this one, as much as it does have a lot of great merits to it. And I can't say yes for Terror of MechaGodzilla because there is a better MechaGodzilla that came before it. I do appreciate Ishiro Honda coming back. I do appreciate Akira Ifukube coming back. However, there are just better entry points in this series, especially for the Showa series.
Next time on James Bond, we join Roger Moore for one last adventure, which just so happens to be the first Bond film I ever saw. James Bond will return in A View to a Kill.
And next time on Godzilla, we begin the Heisei era with the first film that got me into the series and remains as my favorite Godzilla movie of all time.
Oh, let's go!
I'm known.
The serendipity continues before we even start the movies.
Yeah!
The legend is reborn in Godzilla 1985. Thank you all for listening to Bond vs. Godzilla. We'll see you next time with a martini in one hand and a rubber suit in the other.
Stay tuned and stay watching.
Does anybody want a quiche?
No.
What?
What?